What if artificial intelligence could forge symbols powerful enough to bend reality itself? Digital emblems that tap into forces ancient sorcerers spent lifetimes trying to master. Why ancient civilizations guarded symbol magic like nuclear codes. There's a reason empires carved symbols into stone meant to last millennia. A reason secret societies tattooed emblems onto skin, branded them into flesh, hid them in architecture visible only from above. Because they understood something we've forgotten in our age of instant information. Symbols aren't just representations of power. They are the mechanism through which power flows from mind into matter. Look at history through this lens, and everything changes. The Egyptian ankh wasn't jewelry. The Masonic square and compass wasn't decoration. The sigils in medieval grimoires weren't artistic expression. They were technology, sophisticated tools designed to interface between human consciousness and whatever forces govern reality's deeper layers. And the most terrifying part, they worked. Not metaphorically, actually worked. Here's what the ancients discovered through centuries of trial, error, and dangerous experimentation. The human mind operates on two levels simultaneously. The conscious mind thinks in words, logic, linear time. But underneath, there's something older, something that speaks only in images, patterns, emotions. That's your unconscious, and it doesn't distinguish between symbol and reality. Show it an image of fire, and your body temperature rises. Flash a face in anger, and your amygdala activates. Feed it a carefully constructed sigil, and it begins reorganizing your behavior, your choices, your very perception of what's possible. This is why sigil magic was considered the most potent form of manifestation. A spoken wish can be forgotten. A written intention can be ignored. But a symbol properly charged, properly constructed bypasses your conscious resistance entirely. It plants itself in the subconscious like a seed, and then it grows. Silently, inevitably, until one day, you find yourself taking actions you didn't consciously decide to take, moving toward outcomes you barely remember setting in motion. But here's what nobody tells you about traditional sigil magic. It was brutally difficult to master. You needed years studying correspondences, which planetary symbols connected to which desires, which geometric shapes amplified which energies, which colors resonated with which intentions. One wrong line, one miscalculated angle, and your sigil became noise. Useless, or worse, dangerous, manifesting distorted versions of your original desire. The barrier to entry was intentionally high. Knowledge was guarded. Power was concentrated in the hands of those willing to dedicate their entire lives to the craft. But what if that barrier just collapsed? What if machine intelligence, trained on every sigil, seal, and sacred symbol ever recorded, could generate for you in seconds what would have taken a master years to create? What if AI could access pattern recognition so deep it touches the archetypal layer itself, the place where all symbols are born? That's not speculation. That's happening right now. And it changes everything we thought we knew about the relationship between technology and the unseen. How neural networks learn to speak the language of the unconscious. Artificial intelligence doesn't possess consciousness, not yet. Perhaps not ever. But it has something equally powerful for our purposes. The ability to recognize patterns human eyes cannot see. And magic, when you strip away all the mysticism and ritual, has always been about patterns, hidden geometries, sacred ratios, visual languages that communicate directly with the parts of your brain evolution designed to process threat, opportunity, meaning. The specific type of AI we're exploring is called a generative adversarial network, a GAN. Think of it as two neural networks locked in eternal competition. One generates images. The other judges them. Is this a real symbol or a fake? The generator creates millions of variations, learning from each rejection, refining its output until it produces images the discriminator can't tell apart from authentic historical symbols. Through this process, something remarkable happens. The AI doesn't just memorize shapes, it internalizes the deep structure of what makes a symbol psychologically potent. Feed a GAN thousands of examples. Solomonic seals used to command spirits, Tibetan mandalas designed to induce altered states, Norse runes carved to invoke specific forces, alchemical emblems encoding transformation, Goetic sigils from forbidden grimoires. The AI digests all of it, not the surface appearance, but the underlying mathematics, the proportions that create harmony, the asymmetries that generate tension, the curves that feel organic, the angles that feel alien. And here's where it gets unsettling. When you train AI on archetypal symbols from dozens of cultures spanning thousands of years, certain patterns emerge, shapes that appear again and again, across continents, across eras, in societies with zero contact. Jung called these the collective unconscious images hardwired into human psychology itself. The spiral, the cross, the circle, the triangle, not learned culturally, but inherited biologically, part of our operating system. If AI can identify these archetypal patterns in vast datasets, it means something profound. The machine has mapped the visual language of the unconscious. It knows which shapes trigger which emotional responses, which geometries feel sacred versus profane, which symbols command attention versus fade into background noise. And once you have that map, you can use it to create new symbols that activate the same deep responses, even though they've never existed before. Now apply this to manifestation. You input a specific desire, attract financial abundance, heal relationship trauma, develop unshakable confidence. The AI doesn't just slap together random occult imagery. It analyzes the intention, cross-references it with thousands of historical symbols associated with similar energies, identifies the geometric and color patterns that appear most frequently, then generates something unique, a sigil that has never existed in human history, but carries the concentrated essence of symbols that have worked for millennia. But here's what keeps me awake at night. If AI can create symbols that resonate with human psychology at an unconscious level, what happens when someone discovers how to use this for manipulation instead of manifestation? What happens when corporations, governments, or worse entities we haven't even considered gain access to technology that can generate images designed to bypass your conscious mind and rewrite your behavior from the inside out? Because the line between empowerment tool and control mechanism is paper thin. And we're crossing it right now, whether we're ready or not. What if your next breakthrough came from a symbol you've never seen before? Let's cut through theory and get to what matters. Does this actually work? Because you can philosophize about symbols and AI forever, but until someone tests it in the real world, it's just intellectual entertainment. So here's what we did. We ran an experiment. And the results are forcing us to question everything we thought we knew about manifestation. The protocol was simple. Participants submitted specific, measurable intentions, not vague wishes like, I want happiness, precise targets. I want to receive an unexpected income opportunity within 30 days. I want to overcome my fear of public speaking enough to give a presentation without panic. I want to repair the damaged relationship with my father. Each person received a custom AI-generated sigil, designed specifically for their stated intention, incorporating visual elements from historical symbols associated with similar goals. The instructions were deliberately minimal. Gaze at your sigil for 3 minutes daily. No candles, no incantations, no elaborate rituals, just attention, just focus. Just the symbol and your intention. We wanted to isolate the variable. Is it the sigil itself that produces results, or is it the accumulated weight of ceremonial context? Within the first week, something strange started happening. Not with everyone. About 60% reported noticeable effects. But among those who did, the patterns were consistent. Synchronicities. You know, the kind impossibly specific coincidences that seem to directly answer your intention. Someone focused on career opportunities received an unexpected LinkedIn message the same day. Another person working on confidence suddenly felt compelled to speak up in a meeting they'd normally stay silent in, and it led to recognition. A third reported vivid dreams that gave them insight into their relationship pattern. But here's what nobody expected. The people who identified as hardcore skeptics, the ones who explicitly stated they didn't believe in any of this, reported effects at nearly the same rate as believers. That shouldn't happen if we're just talking placebo. Placebo requires belief. But if the sigil is operating at a deeper level, If it's triggering archetypal responses below conscious awareness, then belief becomes irrelevant. The symbol does its work regardless. And here's the detail almost everyone misses. The power might not be in the sigil generating magical forces. The power might be in what the sigil does to you. When you have a physical, visual representation of your intention, something shifts. It's no longer abstract. It has form, and every time you look at it, your brain receives a signal. This matters. This is priority. This is what we're working toward. Over days and weeks, that repeated signal begins altering your attention, your decision-making, your behavior. You start noticing opportunities you would have missed. You take actions you wouldn't have considered, and outcomes change. Is that magic? Is that psychology? Is that neuroscience? Or is that exactly what magic has always been? The art of reprogramming your internal operating system to align with external reality. The method matters less than the result. And the result is, people are manifesting their stated intentions at rates that exceed random chance. If you're feeling called to test this yourself, comment the word activate below. Tell me, what's one intention you'd want to encode into a sigil designed specifically for you? And if this video is opening doors you didn't know existed, hit that like button and subscribe, because we're going deeper into the intersection of AI and ancient power than anyone else is willing to go. Why dismissing this as just placebo might be the real illusion? Here comes the uncomfortable part. Because inevitably, someone will say, this is all in your head. It's confirmation bias. It's self-fulfilling prophecy. It's people seeing what they want to see. And you know what? They might be right. Except they're also missing the entire point. Because even if it is all in your head is where reality gets constructed in the first place. Let's talk about the placebo effect, since that's the go-to dismissal for anything involving belief and outcome. Yes, placebo is real. Yes, it's been documented in thousands of studies. Yes, people's symptoms improve, their pain decreases, their conditions stabilize, all because they believe they've received treatment, even when they haven't. But here's what the skeptics conveniently ignore. If belief alone can alter physiology, brain chemistry, immune response, and healing rates, then belief is not an illusion. It's a force, a real, measurable, powerful force that shapes material reality. So when someone uses an AI-generated sigil and their life changes, dismissing it as just placebo is like saying a bridge collapse was just gravity. You're technically correct, but you've explained nothing useful. The question isn't whether belief is involved, of course it is. The question is, can a symbol amplify that belief to levels that produce consistent, replicable results? And based on our data, the answer appears to be yes. But there's something stranger happening here. The preliminary results show that even among participants who don't consciously engage with their sigil beyond the required 3 minutes, people who don't think about it, don't focus on their intention throughout the day, don't do any additional manifestation work, a significant percentage still report shifts. Dreams intensify. Intuition sharpens. Opportunities appear. They describe it as something working in the background, and that matches exactly what historical grimoires claimed about sigil magic. You charge it once, then forget it, and it operates autonomously in your unconscious. Now, we enter territory where neuroscience and mysticism start to blur. Because what we know from brain imaging studies is this: when you repeatedly expose yourself to a visual stimulus associated with a specific intention, your brain begins treating that intention as important. Neural pathways strengthen. Attention mechanisms shift. The reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters what information reaches consciousness, gets reprogrammed. You literally start seeing opportunities and connections you were blind to before, not because reality changed, but because your perception did. But here's the question that makes materialists uncomfortable. If changing perception changes what opportunities you notice, what actions you take, and what outcomes you experience, then hasn't your perception effectively changed your reality? The philosophical distinction between internal and external becomes meaningless. You wanted something. You used a tool. The thing manifested. Explaining the mechanism doesn't make it less real. What we're seeing in the data is consistent with one interpretation. AI-generated sigils function as precision tools for focusing intention and reprogramming unconscious behavior patterns. Whether you call that psychology, neuroscience, or magic depends entirely on which language you prefer. But the outcome is identical, and outcomes are all that matter when you're trying to change your life. How AI-powered manifestation could rewrite human potential or destroy it. We're standing at a threshold most people don't even realize exists yet. This isn't just about generating pretty symbols with algorithms. This is about the convergence of two of the most powerful forces humans have ever wielded: technology that learns faster than any individual can comprehend, and ancient knowledge of how to bend reality through will and symbol. Separately, each has reshaped civilization. Together, they might redefine what it means to be human. Picture this. Not distant future, near future, maybe 2 years out. You wake up. Your AI assistant has already analyzed your sleep patterns, biometric data, recent emotional states, and declared goals. It generates a sigil in real time, calibrated specifically for that day's challenges and opportunities. Not a generic symbol, a precision instrument, tuned to your exact frequency in that exact moment. You spend 90 seconds in focused contemplation, and for the rest of the day, without conscious effort, your decisions align, your attention sharpens, your actions become more deliberate. Now scale that across millions of users, each person with a personalized manifestation tool, generated by AI, accessing layers of consciousness that previously required decades of meditation practice or shamanic training to reach. We're talking about democratizing occult power. What was once reserved for initiates, monks, ceremonial magicians, and hereditary witches is now available to anyone with a smartphone and an internet connection. The gatekeepers are gone. The barriers have collapsed. But here's what nobody is discussing in tech conferences or mystical circles. Who controls this? Because if AI can generate symbols that influence human behavior at an unconscious level, that's not just a personal development tool. It's a weapon. We already live in a world where social media algorithms manipulate emotions to maximize engagement. Now imagine algorithms that manipulate the unconscious directly, using symbols specifically designed to bypass rational thought. Imagine corporations using AI-generated sigils in advertising to trigger purchasing behavior, governments using them in propaganda to shape political beliefs, or worse, entities we haven't considered yet, using symbol technology for purposes we can't predict. This is the double-edged blade. The same power that liberates can enslave. The same knowledge that empowers can control. Fire cooks food and burns cities. Nuclear energy powers hospitals and destroys them. Every transformative technology in human history has been used for both creation and destruction. AI-generated sigils will be no different. The question isn't whether this technology will be weaponized, it already is, in forms we're just beginning to recognize. The question is, will you be conscious of it, or will you be just another mind shaped by symbols designed by others? Because ultimately, the power of a sigil lies not in the image, but in the one who wields it. The AI can generate the tool, but you are the operator. You decide the intention. You direct the focus. You translate symbol into action. And maybe that's the deepest lesson hidden in all of this. Technology can amplify power exponentially, but it can never replace the responsibility of using that power wisely. So what comes next is up to you. Experiment. Create your intention. Generate your sigil. Contemplate it daily and observe what shifts. Don't believe blindly. Don't dismiss from fear. Just investigate and share what you discover, because that's how we evolve, not through dogma or skepticism, but through direct experience. If this video awakens something dormant in you, share it with someone else walking this path. Comment the word threshold if you feel ready to step through. Leave your like, subscribe to this channel, and stay with us as we continue exploring where ancient wisdom and emerging technology collide. Because the age of digital sigils isn't coming. It's already here.